Thank you for being here with coming together this morning. Usually we're Wednesday, but Paul came home yesterday. That enables me to be at home with all of you. Thank you for your kind words, your prayers, and your good wishes for Paul. It's going to be a long haul, but he will be well.
So it wasn't really a long road at all, Nancy. In fact, we don't even believe that Paul Pelosi was attacked at all, as images they've put out have been of another man. So let's try to break down what we know here. This is his DUI mugshot back in May when he had the arrest for the DUI, and he showed up in jail for 2 days in August and got out for good behavior. They couldn't even let him stand for 5 days. He was ordered to pay $5,000 in restitution, and he's on 3 years of probation. So this isn't the first time he's been in trouble this year, which brings question to everything about this. Here's the Pelosi mansion in downtown San Francisco, where the glass appears to have been busted from the inside, with the majority of the glass on the walkway. It's really speculative. It's hard to say which way, but if she's there, there's a federal security presence like none other, but she wasn't there, so maybe there just wasn't any security footage or anything there. Hard to say. Here you see Nancy and federal security agents bending down as they go through the garage door of their mansion. This is their son, Paul Pelosi Jr., who went there. He looks like his father, I will give him that. So where things get interesting is when Elon Musk made a tweet saying maybe there's a tiny bit more than meets the eye with this case. Well, of course there is. There always is. I've had my theories about him having a robot double. Well, now he's in the news because of creating a new Tesla robot named Optimus. That's about my height. It's about 5'5" and 125 pounds. If that's not scary enough for you, there was a book written by Vanna von Braun saying that human colonists would be led to Mars by a man called Elon. So pretty scary stuff. It brings up all the stuff about possible time travelers again. I reported in a previous show about Trump and the book The Last President, written in 1900 by Ingersoll Rand, possibly another time traveler. We don't know, but that's what it looks like. If that's not scary enough, just 3 days after this whole Paul Pelosi thing first began, on Halloween night, Elon Musk wore a Halloween costume which he self-dubbed the Devil's Champion, which was Baphomet, and had an upside-down cross on it. Folks, there is no justification for wearing an upside-down cross. You could say people do this stuff for Halloween for a long time. Not an upside-down cross. We've seen all kinds of celebrities like Bill Gates' wife doing it. It's Satan worship, and it needs to stop. So you're now looking at David Wayne DePape, 42 years old, originally from Canada, living in the San Francisco area. He's the intruder who supposedly attacked Paul Pelosi with a hammer, which I don't believe even happened at all. We now think he's his gay lover. Media tried to spin that this guy was a far-right alt-conservative into conspiracy theories, and there was this blog that they made up the dates. It wasn't even accurate. Well, this guy, you can see the house that he lives in. It's like a commune with other gay men. See the gay pride flag. Also, it supported BLM. It had a sign there in the yard. So here's where NBC News comes into this whole story. A story by Miguel Almaguer. He reported on the case. NBC News pulled it off the air just a few days later and said it didn't meet their journalistic requirements.
After a knock and announce, the front door was opened by Mr. Pelosi. The 82-year-old did not immediately declare an emergency or try to leave his home, but instead began walking several feet back into the foyer toward the assailant and away from police.
NBC News took down that report from their website with a note that read, quote, "The piece should not have aired because it did not meet NBC News reporting standards." According to reporting by Mediaite.com, a site that I founded, an NBC source said, quote, "The segment was removed after it was determined the main source for the information was unreliable regarding the circumstances the police encountered when they arrived at the house, specifically what the police saw and how far the attacker was from the door." Look, I have no idea.
So why did NBC News pull the report, you might ask? Well, because this guy got it right from the start, and they didn't want that narrative out there. If Paul Pelosi was walking calmly back, and there was this third man that opened the door, and then they came back and said it wasn't a third man, it just lends credence to the notion that he wasn't ever attacked at all, and this was all just another setup from the start. Back in 2012, some of you may remember 3 reporters were fired from NBC News And Lilia Luciano was one of the reporters where they skewed this story and made it look like a racism thing, where the dispatcher made it look like didn't ask the cop what his race was, so the guy fired because he was black or something, which wasn't the case. The dispatcher did ask, and they got it wrong, and she got fired. This image was recently released claiming that it was Paul Pelosi, and this is the results of that hammer attack. I'm going to explain to you in a few seconds why this isn't him and why it could not have possibly been from that hammer attack. So the image you just saw circulated back on March 4th of 2018 when several media outlets reported that a Minnesota man was beat in Bethel, New York. And now this image has been used and claimed it was Paul Pelosi. It's not the case. You can see the difference here between the two guys. The bottom of the earlobe lines up on the left, which is Paul Pelosi with his lips. On the right, it lines up with the bottom of the nose. On the right, the hair is snow white. On the left, it's salt and pepper. The hairline's pushed way back on the right image. It's not on the left. So it's clearly not Paul Pelosi. Whatever media outlet put out there that it was him. This isn't the first time that the police has changed the narrative of the story. We've seen it in the Brian Laundrie case. We saw it in the Uvalde, Texas shooter, where everything just changed, and they were caught afterwards, and they're being caught here again. The police, all police departments take their orders from the FBI. The FBI is a very corrupt organization. Do not fall for these tricks, guys. So to conclude, I believe that David DePape was his gay lover. He was having an affair with Nancy in San Francisco. And here you can see the towers are already detonated by the time the plane flies into it. Yep, hold on, that's the wrong show. I'm going to go ahead and get that to a future episode for you guys.